Well, again, my agent, Fred Ishimoto, sent me out on an interview. Uh, he told me that it was a sci-fi series, and I thought that's fine. Didn't excite me that much. But he said it was a pilot, and the role could potentially become a regular. And that excited me because that meant steady employment. Going from one show to another, it gets to be good but insecure. And being a regular in a series would, first of all, give you that stability. You know that next week you're going to wake up knowing you're going to be going back to Desilu Studios. And so I went there to audition um, with the hope that I might be a series regular. Um, there's an interesting way that I met Gene Roddenberry. I was taking a shower, so when I wrote the information down, I was dripping wet, and the uh, ballpoint pen that I used to write down the information got a little smeared. And when I went to Desilu to meet the producer, um, it looked like what I had written down. It looked like it was Rosenberry. I was to meet a man named Gene Roddenberry, but it looked like Rosenberry. And so when I walked in, I told him that I'm George Takei here to meet Mr. Rosenberry. And you're nervous enough as you are, but then when you're corrected that you had mispronounced the producer's name, that really throws you off. But then when I walked in to meet Gene Roddenberry, he called me George Takai, which is a mispronunciation of the EI in my surname. But I told him uh, of the difficulty I had with his name, but I said, I don't object to being called George Takai because that is a Japanese word which translates into English as expensive. And if you want to call me George Expensive, I'd be more than happy to have my agent accommodate you. And from that point on, Gene always said Takei. Takei is okay. Sulu was described as a crack professional, the brightest and the number one graduate from Starfleet Academy from his class, and the best helmsman of Starfleet, uh, which was pretty much fitting the Asian American stereotype at that time because we were known as a very studious and hardworking group. But he also put it in a larger context. He said the Starship Enterprise is a metaphor for Starship Earth, and the strength of the starship is in its diversity. And so he wanted to have that diversity reflected in the makeup of the crew, in the casting of the crew. And my character was supposed to represent Asia. And as you know, Uhura, um, the female communications officer, was supposed to represent Africa. But he told me the difficulty with naming a character that was supposed to represent Pan Asia was in the name, because every Asian name is nationally specific. Tanaka is definitely Japanese. Kim is definitely Korean. Wong is definitely Chinese. And so, how can you say this character is Asian with a name like Wong? And so, he was looking at the map of Asia and he noticed that off to the side of the South China Sea was the Sulu Sea. And he thought, aha, the waters of a sea touch all shores. And so that's how he came up with Sulu. When he put the character in that kind of context, and then once we got into the series, we started reading the script. It was a quality series. It had substance. It was a weighty. I mean, it was good, rip snorting good space opera, but it was also one that had a lot of ideas, a lot of uh, uh, commentaries on issues of the time, and so I really wanted to be in it. And the character of Sulu was depicted as part of the leadership team of the Starship Enterprise, and to be working in concert with that team as a leader, and in some ways heroic. Uh, it's a wonderful opportunity, and I was just sitting on pins and needles, itching to do it. But again, that torturous period after the interview and until the phone call from the agent comes, you are made to go through this excruciating process. But the phone call came through, and I was cast. I was Sulu.